I've been getting a steady stream of emails and DMs and YouTube comments from people asking me to weigh in on a theory, or maybe we would call it a hypothesis that's starting to circulate. And the question is really simple. Is there already a quiet movement inside the Republican Party, maybe inside Trump's inner circle, certainly inside JD Vance's staff, that is setting the stage for Vice President JD Vance to become president if Donald Trump dies while in office? Now, I want to be clear about two things. This is speculative, and also the definition of being vice president is being ready to become president if the president dies. So I know you might be saying, well, David, that's like the job of the vice president. What I mean is a little more about this. What I mean is in the context of real questions about Donald Trump's health, and also a movement within the Republican Party that doesn't see Trump as a good steward of the party, and this sort of technocrat, the sort of technocratic movement, the Peter Thiel types behind JD Vance, is there more of a proactive movement that is saying, JD, hold on here. We don't think Trump's going to make it. We're going to set you up to take the Republican Party in a different direction. The reason so many people are bringing it up is because of the dots that we've been connecting lately. Trump obviously is an older guy, but there's more to it. His health is a growing topic of conversation. He's obese. He eats a terrible diet. He doesn't exercise. His ankles are extraordinarily swollen. Both hands are bruised. He seems to struggle to walk in a straight line. His eyes are regularly swollen red and tearing up. He's up all night sometimes, seemingly dissembling and disoriented, slurred speeches, meandering thoughts, and the fact that being president, for most presidents, people who are actually doing the job, it's an extraordinarily stressful thing. And so on paper, the answer obviously is, well, the reason you have a vice president is in such a scenario where the president were to pass away in office. JD Vance is ready. That's how the line of succession works. But what's interesting, and what people have been writing to me about, is how JD Vance may be deliberately positioning himself since the inauguration. JD Vance is visible, but he's not too visible. He shows up for big policy announcements and for major fundraisers, and he's in the Oval Office sitting there when Trump is meeting with world leaders, but he's not glued to Trump's hip. He's not jumping in to defend every bizarre Truth Social post. He defends some of them, but not all of them. And so the idea that many of you had, that you've written to me about, is that Donald Trump may be playing a little bit of a different game here. A game where Vance stays close enough to benefit from Trump's base, but far enough that if Trump goes down, he can plausibly say, I'm my own man. We are going to go in a different direction now. Behind the scenes, Vance is sort of building something real. He's doing high profile stuff of his own, committee appearances, talking about foreign policy. And so you get the sense that Vance wants to get all the benefit he can from being around Trump, but he wants to be his own man in a sense. And those to me are the moves of someone who's thinking of their own presidency. Maybe that means 2028, but maybe it means sooner. Now, we've seen versions of this before. When Woodrow Wilson suffered a massive stroke, his wife, Edith, was quietly running the show for a while, and cabinet members kind of tiptoed around the truth. When FDR died in 1945, Harry Truman was suddenly sworn in, and he inherited World War II. He inherited a lot of important elements at that point in time. When JFK was assassinated in 1963, LBJ was ready within hours to step in. And the idea was stability, reliable leadership in the middle of a national trauma. In all of these cases, there was contingency planning. Now, some of it was formal, some of it was whispered. In modern politics, it doesn't have to be a secret plot. Sometimes it's just people around the leader making sure there's a path forward if the unthinkable should happen. So could all of this be nothing? Of course. Trump might serve out his term. Hell, he's talking about maybe running again in 2028. Who knows? Maybe JD Vance kind of fades back into Ohio politics. But when viewers write in and ask me if the Republican Party is already looking beyond Trump, the signs are sort of there, and there seems to be, at least plausibly, a careful distancing happening with JD Vance, the brand separation. And if the moment comes, they're going to tell us it's a tragedy. They're going to tell us it's a shock. They're going to tell us it's a moment they never could have imagined. But if you've been paying attention, you will probably notice that Vance steps in and starts to go in a different direction that becomes his own Republican Party. Every indication is that people like Peter Thiel and others behind Vance have this in mind. And so is it conspiratorial thinking? No, it's not conspiratorial because that's what VPs do. They are there as a contingency plan if something should happen to the president. But is there something extra where they are really thinking about it in the context of Trump's age and health? There probably seems to be. I want to hear from you about it. info@davidpakman.com.